Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m., April 27th. Welcome to my channel. Now, over the weekend, obviously, we had some attempt to assassinate Donald Trump. Crazy. And the talks have stalled between Iran and U.S., even though I think they sent up another negotiation for the opening up the Strait of Hormuz. Oil continues to just rise. Okay. Last week, we were in balance pretty much all week in the S&P 500. We did wind up making new all-time highs on Friday. However, again, the show was really led by technology, particularly semiconductors, are out of control. They continue to be out of control this morning. Today, the winner is Qualcomm. I own a little Qualcomm, so that's making me happy. And they report earnings this week. They're having some partnership with OpenAI, I believe. So markets are nuts. And this week, the earnings really turn up. And we have FOMC on Wednesday. Okay. And the markets are doing what they're supposed to do on a Monday usually. We did dip down a little bit. Sunday night open. Then we recovered, pushed back down again, and it's just kind of lollygagging, really. Really lollygagging. ES is flat right now. That's kind of all you need to know. Okay. Like I said, big earnings, FOMC. Without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, buying profile, define structure in the markets, along supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's where I come up with game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my market internals, which is my bread and butter. Anchor view ups, most expected move of the week. That is a script I run every Monday morning, and I share with you, like I did today, in my Discord. Okay. Throw some little ICT and smart money concepts in there, but really, I have my own system. Okay, now hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic counter, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I always give you that long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ futures later on in the stream. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you are going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right. Now, last week, just so everybody knows, just give me 1 second here. Just so everybody knows, I do a little performance recap of the week. All right. Last week, I had a 6.18R week plus 6.18R. So that's 2 weeks in a row. And so let's see what we're doing here. Since I started doing this, that was 11.75R, a slightly down week, negative 0.87R, 4.56R, 2.98R, and last week a plus 6.18R. Okay. Had a nice long on Friday, pretty much early on. I could have really, I really wanted to target overnight highs. I really was confident. Um, and that's what ended up happening. But can't complain. Pretty decent week. So just to let you know, there's always a scorecard here for myself. All right, daily receipt you can see every day as I, with timestamps, call out the markets. Okay, so that's just a short little summary. Of course, live market. Okay, get my gamma levels, gamma flip points weekly expected move I dropped this morning that I share with you. All right, get my pre-market scenarios every morning. That pretty much hit my long right there. All right, all right. Let's get into future watch list. And it's Monday, so usually be patient on Monday mornings. VIX is up 1.44%. Crude up 0.71. Bitcoin up 0.26. Russell's up 0.18. It's very muted this morning in markets. Okay. 10-year yield's flat. ES flat. 30-year bonds pretty much flat. The Dow's down 0.10. Ethereum down 0.13. Dollar's down 0.31. The gold's down 0.32. And silver down 0.65. Very muted. Okay. Nothing is out of control, weak or strong. Moving on. Max 7 plus here. Nvidia is getting some love this morning, up 1.43%. AMD continues its meteoric rise, up 1%. Google up 0.44. Now there's a little bit of tiny laggards here. Microsoft reports earnings this week, down 0.42. Netflix down 0.43. Tesla down 0.49 or 0.5% right there. Apple down 1.35. Let's see here. Why is that? They report earnings. They report earnings this week as well. Alrighty. Moving on, top sectors. Look at Qualcomm. Qualcomm with that partnership of OpenAI. I believe it's OpenAI. Up 11.5%. Okay. Nothing really to. Let's see here. Let's go to the half percenters. Salesforce down 0.57. Okay. Walmart down 0.63. The mining stock NEM down 1%. GEV Vernova is a monster. It's down over 1%. Oracle down over 1%. Palantir over 1.53%. Now it looks like software is getting some weakness this morning. Okay. That's what I'm seeing here, some software weakness. Okay. So let's move on to sectors. Semiconductors continue to be out of control. Up 1.18% this morning. And again, very disconnected from XLK, right? They are encompassed by XLK. Energy is up 0.42. Technology, see, up 0.26. Technology, inside technology is semis. Just look at the disconnect. Okay, because the whole technology sector isn't on fire. It's semis. Well, it is. Technology is on fire, but the semis part of it is really the one that's really just have a lot there. Discretionary down 0.29, and that's a Tesla weakness, Amazon weakness, or Home Depot weakness. I'm trying to see here. It's not down shockingly a ton. I'm trying to see who else discretionary is down. So Home Depot is down, Amazon is down, Tesla is down. So, excuse me. That is your sectors. Let's get on to the economic calendar for this week. Today we have Dallas Fed 10:30. That really doesn't move markets generally. All right. Tuesday looks like it's consumer confidence at 10 a.m. Wednesday FOMC. Okay. You also have crude inventory. Thursday core PCE. Okay, GDP. Chicago PMI, and Friday ISM manufacturing PMI and ISM manufacturing employment. Okay, let's see on tap for today's for Trump. I didn't really see anything that stands out to me. Now, of course, he can post something. Let's see if there's a stock roundup today. I don't really see anything. Let's see here for the juice here. Stocks move higher And oil trimmed earlier gains at the report that Iran had presented to the U.S. with a proposal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Talked about that earlier. See if there's anything else here. I just think we're in flux right now. Market's got a lot of momentum. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. All right, let's look at some other news. Elon Musk trial against Sam Altman to reveal the ongoing power struggle for OpenAI. Beijing blocks Meta acquisition of Chinese AI startup Manus. Global consumer companies face pricing stress tests from oil shock. Companies dust off oil rigs in storage in Venezuela as contracts are overhauled. Big fuel bill. Spirit bailout may upend JetBlue Airways return to profitability. Were muted as peace talks between the U.S. and Iran stalled, while investors awaited a flood of earnings as well. The commentary from the Federal Reserve meeting this week. U.S. tech earnings due in the coming week include reports from 44% of the S&P 500 by market capitalization. Capital expenditure plans will be in focus for firms such as Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta, set to report on Wednesday, while Apple will report a day later. Okay. Now let's look if there's any news that's worthy here. Don't really see any. Alrighty. I think we're ready for some breadth charts here. Let's look at those, how those fared. Okay, let's see how those fared. And then we're going to start with the 20-day simple moving average. That's the fast one, right? So, all right, let's do this, and then let's do this. All right, so we are pulling back here. Remember, this is the overall S&P 500 500 stocks. We're only at 60% over the 20-day simple moving average. So look, we were at 80. That's kind of frothy. So we've pulled back. Okay, let's look at the 50 slower moving average. See, we're very middling at 52.80%, right? So overall market 50-day moving average, you got 50-50. Okay, that's because this semi-tech led drive. Okay, so those are some breadth, right? Now, once we go over to the bullish percent index, I love using these. Okay, let's look at the S&P 500. See, that's 62% on buy signal. See, we've pulled back. Okay, we went up to about 67, pulled back a little bit. Okay, now the NDX, just curious where that is at. 63. 63. Okay, so the overall NASDAQ 100, 63% on buy signals. That's not super frothy, a little bit as far as the past. But now, this is where we have to really drill down into the technology sector itself. See, that's a little more 75% on buy signals. See, it's getting very frothy there. All right. Now, I don't think they have a semis bullish percent index. But I don't think they do. No. Okay. So we're going to go to financials. That is 73% on buy signals. We'll just go to healthcare. I forgot about that last week. Healthcare was pretty oversold a little bit ago. Now Eli Lilly did pull back pretty hard last week, so you can see it came down to 44%. So that's one. All right. And Staples. Let's see, Staples. See, they're a little more weaker. Now remember, those are not really heavy market cap weighted stocks or sectors. Healthcare used to be, but it's kind of slipped a little bit. And we'll just round it out with discretionary. That's at 66% on buy signals. And we'll finish off here with communications. Is at, see, that's not doing the best. 47% on buy signals. So we know, really, the name of the game is technology sector, right? And semis. We'll look at semis in a second. Okay. Let's look at my market internals, which I always like to go over. It's my bread and butter. So right in here is where I got long on this pullback right here in the ES. Okay, that was a nice trade. Obviously, I could have been in for that whole big move, right? But I still got close to 2 to 1. Okay, I'm not going to really complain about that. Now you can see technology was up 1.16 from the open. Now that is going to drive markets. Look, we had other weakness. Financials wasn't strong. Communications was very weak. Okay, that's why you moved up and just traded sideways. And you can see we were very mixed, and then the money came back into the markets. Okay, but overall we weren't very strong. Look at all the red in here. All right, very middling. Look at the ADD was actually negative. The advanced decline. Nothing here was like whoa, except semis and technology. Okay, let's go to daily charts. Okay, so we did make all-time highs. We were in a balance area. And we haven't even touched this 90 MA on a daily yet. I mean, you think you would tag that sometime. We haven't hit that since the beginning of the month. So this is pretty big move. Okay, we did break the previous week's highs. So you're in this like 5-day balance. Broke out of it, but not very strong. Where are we now? 713.34. We are in the upper third of. Oh, we're pulling back a little more now. We're about midpoint of the range of Friday. Okay, midpoint of the range on Friday. Let's look at futures. Okay, futures now. See, we're starting to come back into this range. Now, look above and fail is balance rules. So if we come back in here, expect to go to the other side of balance. I don't know what we're gonna do. Nobody does. I actually trimmed some positions on Friday afternoon. Some Vertiv, some GEV Vernova, Microsoft. What else did I trim? I think those were it. AMD. AMD is the other one that I trimmed a little bit. So just generated some capital. All right. I'm looking at that semis and I'm just like, all right, I know how this goes. They're going to get a nasty pullback. And I don't know when, but I'd like to take it when AMD makes that rise. Okay. So let's see what happens here. This is very interesting because the overall breadth of the ES is just not on hitting on all cylinders. It's not. Okay. Qs. All right. So the Qs, that's not the Qs. I don't want to lie to you. That was SPX. Look at the Qs. You kind of broke out, right, on this day. Then you kind of came back into range, and then boom, you went higher, right? Not even coming close to the 90 MA daily. Now, where are we now? 663.40. 663.40. You're right here. You're by the close of Friday. Okay. You are back inside the range. You were gapping up earlier. Okay. Now, way above the previous week, last week's highs. Okay. Now, let's look at futures. Okay. Got a doji candle. Typical Monday morning garbage. That is such an indecisive candle right there. Now look, we broke last week's highs, coming back into range. What do we do today? Now we do have another daily demand here. Okay, so if I was gonna extend this, let's extend this. Let's extend right there. Let's copy. There's another now daily demand here. Ugh, come on. Come on. Why does that keep snapping there? That's annoying. There we go. Okay. You got a daily demand there. That starts around 27160. I'll keep that on the chart. That's pretty powerful. Okay, so I'll look at it. We'll look at it in an hourly chart. I don't track these per se in my other hourly charts because they're just so big, but I like to see them here. Okay, so this has a lot to go through to make the Nasdaq week. So that is your Nasdaq. Now let's look at the star of the show here. Is your semiconductors ETF, and this, my friends, is insane. Look at that move. Let's see percent wise if I can get the. Oh, it's off the screen. That is annoying. Hold on. Let's do a little magic here. Oop. Let's do a little magic. Okay. Let's do that again. Let's see that percent move. 22.8% in 16 days. And let's see from this bottom, 41.61% in 25 days. That is insane. Okay. That is crazy. This is not sustainable. And you can see the RSI as well been oversold, right? Overbought, sorry. That is pretty nuts. And you are pre-market 510, 510, 21. So crazy. This is what's really moving the markets. I mean, let's just look at XLK. Pretty much also a very strong move. Had that one down day, right? Pretty insane. But semis is really, really, really moving it, particularly AMD. I mean, look at that thing. Look at that gap. Jeez Louise. Okay. AMD. And I believe there's a couple other ones that, let's see, Lam Research. Why am I forgetting that ticker? Maybe it will come up when I say Lam Research. Oh, forgetting the ticker. I forgot the ticker. I know Marvel. Another semi that's been pretty parabolic. We know Micron. That's, but the other one is Intel. That thing was hanging around in the 30s here, and whoop, 85s. Pretty crazy. And then, haven't talked about this, but Avis, ticker CAR, look at that friggin' thing. That was up at 138. It went to 850 almost. And look at that drop. Wow. That is a meme stock, folks. Okay? All right, enough of this stuff. Okay. Let's do the hourly charts. Alrighty. All right, hourlies. Here's your ES. Now, pretty simple here. Okay. This is the previous week's highs. This is last week's highs. Right? We dipped back into last week's range in the overnights. Pushed back up. And then we came back down. And now we're middling. Okay? And just look at this pattern here. Right? So you consolidate it, push down, pushed up, push down, consolidate it. Okay? It's going nowhere. Typical Monday. Right? You can see we have supply here, demand here, and we're oscillating in between both. Okay? Typical Monday. All right? Even if we let's just put a profile on it. Let's say from here. Look at that balance, right? Little value area right here, little volume here, little volume here. Not surprised. Okay, that's why I'm saying it's very middling. We're at the 50% retracement right now in the ES. Right now. Okay, of the midpoint of Friday's range. So right there is the midpoint of Friday's range. I'm sorry, that is not the midpoint. I'm sorry. That's 71.72. This is the midpoint of the overnight, which makes sense. This lighter gray section is the all overnight. So we're right in the middle of the overnight session. Okay, right under the close of Friday. So this right here, my friends, is all I have to say is, well, if we're going to stick with Monday, look to probably buy at this near this demand zone. That start of that demand zone is 71.82s, right? And then you have a supply zone that starts around 7,200. Okay, you might want to be a seller there. All right, a lot of data coming out this week. Okay, I have to remind myself to show you guys the earnings calendar. I forgot to show you that. All right, so that's the ES. Now remember, Nasdaq's relatively stronger. Let's look at the Nasdaq. All right, so look at the Nasdaq. How different that looks. It's just so different because you were in balance here, you broke out, in balance here, broke out, right? But now you might have a different way of what you're doing here. Ooh, look at this pulling back a little bit, huh? All right. Now, let's do that little profile because we do have balance. All right. Let's move this one over. Okay. It's not the prettiest little show there. All right. But that's pretty nice pullback here. I'm not sure. Maybe something came out. I'm not sure. But like this, we're pulling back, right? Into demand, though. It's a major demand zone. I think it's a 6 hour. Okay. So your swing low here is 27343s. Okay. It's pretty interesting here. Oh. Okay. All right. Well, something definitely changed here. Now, what I'm going to show you here is, let's just go right back to sectors. I have to show you this. This is what just changed. Remember before, semis were up over 1%. They are now only up 0.48. Look at technology, what just happened. It's negative. Okay? So money has just been sucked out of semis. Purple. All right? So that is something just changed. Yeah. Something just changed, folks. Okay? Let's just look at some leaders here. I know I'm coming off that, but I have to be attentive to what I just saw. Okay? Nvidia was up over 1%. It's only up 0.90. AMD, look at AMD. It was also up 1% just a second ago. It is flat. Broadcom is down. Okay? Let's look at Qualcomm. Qualcomm was up over 11%, only up 9. And you're getting a lot of tech weakness here. Okay? So, very interesting. I told you, I don't know if it's going to happen today. Okay? But semis are out of control. That's why I trimmed my AMD position on Friday. I was like, this is going to end, not end, end meaning end, like it's going to be bearish or something. But you just don't go up like that and then don't have some nasty pullback. So maybe today's the day. I don't know. Okay? So now that semis have calmed down this morning, let's see. Okay? Now look, supply, demand. Okay? who knows what's going to happen here? But this little consolidation could be our range today. I'm not sure. But that's significant that the semis just got cut like that. Are people going to pile into that still today? Maybe. Maybe. But all parabolic things end. It's just the way it is. You have to move back to some kind of mean. Okay? Now, even you guys can see this little list I have here. You can see software is getting hit. Microsoft, Palo Alto, that's cybersecurity, obviously. ServiceNow, right, is down 1%. So software is getting hit as well. So let's move on. Okay, we're going to go right to earnings calendar so we can just look at that together. Have to look at that. Now, this morning, Verizon reported, Domino's Pizza. Okay, who else? Let's see if anybody to note. Today after the close, anything big? Not really. Before the open tomorrow, UPS, Coca-Cola, Spotify, GM, Hilton. Tuesday after the close, Hood, Bloom Energy, Seagate, Visa, Enphase, Solar, Mondelez. Okay, before the open on Wednesday, SoFi, Humana, Regeneron, AbbVie. Wednesday after the close is a big one. Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, Ford, Qualcomm, Chipotle, KLAC. That is a big day. Okay? Now, before they open on Thursday, ConocoPhillips, that's your energy. Caterpillar, that's your industrial. Valero, that's energy. Wayfair, Eli Lilly's healthcare. MasterCard, Altria, Merck, right? Bristol Myers Squibb, Cigna. This is a big week. All right. Now, after the close on Thursday, I'm sorry. Apple, SanDisk has been on a run this year. Western Digital, Reddit, Rivian, Riot, Amgen, First Solar. Then Friday, you got Chevron, Exxon, Colgate, Palmolive, Moderna, Dominion Energy. Big, big, big earnings week. Not a great week, I would say, for a swing trade because you just don't know what's going to happen, FOMC as well on Wednesday. My Lord, Wednesday is going to be jam packed. You could have crazy movement from FOMC and then have those heavyweights report. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Now let's get to that market. Am I from Boston? Let's see here. Let's go to the volume profile. Market profile. Okay. Boom. This is your market profile, volume profile. Now, you could see balance, but then we're starting to make volume here now. Who knows if it makes a new range? We don't know that yet, right? That's the overnight activity. All right, let's get into scenarios. Long and short trade scenarios and then ES futures. So we're back inside last week's range. Okay, we spent a little time gapping up, but now we're back inside. Okay, we're at the midpoint of the overnight session. Open happens to be the most traded price of the overnight as well. Now, when we look at this, all right, the ES, we are in ultimate balance. Okay, so the 7160s is your ultimate balance. Now, as long as the market stays above that, you have to be bullish. We have bullish structure. Okay, so easier plays are to the long side still. Okay, easier plays are to the long side. You see that part of my long from Friday morning was this major demand in both the Nvidia, in the Nasdaq, in the ES. Okay, so I wanted to be long, and then I said, oh, remember what I said on Friday morning. I said that overnight highs are never secure, okay, as all-time highs. And that was true again. 97% of the time, too, the regular trading hours session hits an overnight high or overnight low. Pretty cool stat. Okay? So, Just remember the 7160's ultimate balance is your line in the sand. You lose that, maybe bulls are on the back foot. Instead, besides that, you have to be with the bullish momentum. Okay? You have to be with the bullish momentum. Now, let's look at this chart. This is going to be the tail of the overnight session. Okay? Because, let's get into it here. You have demand at 7182s. You have supply at 7200. We are oscillating in between both of them at the midpoint of the overnight session. Okay? So if I'm going to start with scenarios, it's going to be the long. What I want to see. This is again going to be an inside out trade. This is going to be an inside out move. You're guaranteed to either test this demand or even lower to ultimate balance, or you're going to test supply. You are guaranteed to do this. Okay, that's why I said inside out. I don't trade the inside out because I don't like being in the middle of this mess. You can get chopped up. However, if the market presents me an opportunity and pulls back into this demand zone, you maybe even tap the overnight lows, 71.71s. Pull back. Make a higher low. I would love to be long. And where would I target? The overnight highs. You have new all-time highs in the overnights. They're generally not secure. 72.08 and a half. And then see if you can run higher. All right. Now, if I get a deeper pullback to ultimate balance around the 71.60s, okay, I am also going to look to get long as long as we bounce and hold above and see if you can hit the 72.08 50s. All right. Now, of course, below that, can you get a long? Yes, but I think the probabilities are much lower because if we're down here, that means we're probably weak. Moving on. Shorts. So, again, remember, inside out. So, if we move higher up into supply, and maybe we just sweep that overnight high at 72.08 and a halves, come back into last week's range, put a lower high in, you are going to short, and you are going to target the overnight lows, 71.71s, and then target 71.60s ultimate balance. There's a major demand zone there, so that could be it and all she wrote. If you find acceptance underneath the 71.60s and hang out in this major demand, maybe we drop down to the 70.90s, but I would think a news catalyst would have to be involved in that. Okay? That's all I have for a short. All right? I'm more leaning long today. Okay. Now, here is our NASDAQ. Okay, let's get into the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ futures. Let's break out the session. That is a very incomplete profile to the upside. That pretty much is going to tell me that we're going to break that high. Okay? Remember, again, all-time highs are not secure in overnight sessions. All-time highs are usually not the last. They're usually not just there, overnight highs, all-time highs. It just doesn't usually work like that. Okay? And you can see the major demand we're in. It's about a 6-hour demand, and look what we're doing. We're hanging out at the close of Friday. We're hanging at the most traded price, 274.14 of Friday, most traded price of Friday. Okay? And this support right here, this major demand zone, is 273.43s. If you stay in here, you're going to just have to probably go long. Okay? Now, let's mark off some levels here. The midpoint, the 50% retracement of Friday's session would be a 27296. That also lines up with a demand zone. You're not even in that demand zone, but that's a line that you want to keep on your charts. Okay, we're in a 6-hour demand zone, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, slow down the market. Okay, slow down the market. Okay, so How are we going to play? Now look, I want to show you guys something. Ultimate balance in the Nasdaq is about 267 and a half. 26750 is all the way down here. So that's getting far away from value. Okay? Far away. Okay? ES is very close to its ultimate balance. Okay? So Nasdaq is real far from trying to get bearish. Makes sense. Semis driving markets, right? All right, let's get into the scenarios. And I'm going to start with a long. Okay, we were up here, right? Very incomplete to this upside here. It's a little bit of a bullish imbalance. You have equal highs up here. Okay, now markets here. Just like I said in the ES, you're at the midpoint of the overnight session. What that means is it's inside out again. You're guaranteed to be in this supply or this demand. Happen to be right here. And what would I want to see? I'd want to see a pullback. Now you have that major support 27343. Nothing's perfect. It could come here, then make a higher low. You target that equal highs at 27542, the overnight highs, and happen to be the all-time highs right now, and see if you can keep running. Maybe go to the psychological level of 277. Okay, even if you break these overnight lows, the 27343s, you still have another demand zone and the midpoint of Friday's range. I feel like people will buy that as well. So maybe you come down, pull back, make a lower high, again targeting 27542s, the overnight highs. Okay, now deeper you go below this, I'm probably not going to want to just jump in the longs. Could it work? Sure. But I like more high probable setups. Okay? So now we're going to focus on shorts. There will be a day when semis get the rug pulled out from underneath them and the markets will fall. It's not bearish, it's just what the markets do. You don't buy without getting selling back in profit taking. Okay? So if we're going to talk about a short now, right? Pretty easy one, inside out, right? So if we come up to here, and I would expect this to happen. Boom, you break those overnight highs. But let's say it's a sweep. You get a closure back inside, and you get that lower high. That's a short. You're going to target the overnight lows, 27343s. Now you're going to go through to the midpoint of Friday's range and another demand zone. Okay? Now, if semis are weak, I think we have a good shot of hitting the 27130s. That is Friday's lows. But then you come back into this major demand. You need some news catalyst to probably push through that. Honestly, that's all I'm looking at for right now. Okay? All right, folks. Now, what's my overall outlook for today? Okay, here's the overall outlook. Now, markets breadths. The market breadth I showed you is middling. 50% roughly of stocks in the S&P 500 over their 50-day moving average. 50 stocks below, or 50% above, 50% below. Very middling. What has been out of control? Semiconductors. Okay, they were up over 1%. Now they're up 0.65. So they're getting bought a little bit, but AMD's pulling back. Okay, so keep an eye on semis today. Okay, that has been the story. Semiconductors. Remember, Nasdaq and ES are oscillating right now in the midpoint of their overnight sessions. It's very middling. It's Monday. Okay, it's very middling. However, the Nasdaq obviously in structure is much, much more relatively strong than the ES. Okay, so the bulls still have momentum. The bulls still have momentum. All right. I think if a short is in play, you have to break these overnight highs in either Nasdaq and the ES if you're going to get any type of short and didn't watch semis. If semis still hold and you get a pullback, you're probably going to want to take that long because just the momentum is there. Okay, so the momentum and the bias is still on the long side. Okay, but I would say look at semis, what they do today, to see if whoa, tech is finally getting some profit taking or something. All right, now it's Monday. Let the market develop. It's Monday. Let it develop. Like I said, you're oscillating in between a supply and a demand, and you're in the middle of the overnight session. It's just not a great location to start out. All right, play those edges. Play the edges. Okay, let shorts or longs be in pain on an extension and fade it right now. That's what I would probably say. All right, now that's my analysis. Please smash that like button if you would. That would help my channel out tremendously. And as always, hopefully I do this every morning. Hopefully you subscribe, set that alert. All right, give you the market story, market news, economic calendar, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq futures. Okay. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right. So today, I'm going to sit back. I understand where we're at, right? We are in the middle of the overnight. Okay. And there's always headline risk. All right. So, but we have a plan. And remember, new plans always open up once the market opens. We don't know what's going to drive the markets today, up or down. Okay. Now, hopefully, everybody stays true to the process, monitors their risk. All right. Remember, no trade is a trade. Sitting on your hands is a trade. It's a position. Remember, if you have edge, your edge is also when to trade and when not to trade. All right. The edge is just as powerful to go, this is not in my wheelhouse. I don't like when the markets move like this. I don't really see anything that I could take advantage of. Then you don't do anything. Right? All right. Anyways, hopefully you come to my Discord. I should be going live around 9:45 a.m. Come join me, ask questions. If you don't see me there, I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. And I hope everybody has a great day. Take it easy.